Welcome, folks, to the next episode of Starfleet Simplified. I'm Michael Schockman, I'll be your host and commentator, and in today's episode we will be covering the venerable workhorse of the late 23rd and the early 24th century Starfleet, leading up even into the Dominion War, and the namesake of the USS Enterprise B, at its tragic accident on its maiden voyage. Today we'll be covering the Excelsior class exploratory cruiser. The Excelsior class, ladies and gentlemen, was developed for two specific reasons, using the most up-to-date and cutting-edge technology of the time it was created, that being in the late 23rd century. It was developed first and foremost as a replacement for the aging Constitution refit series of classes, Constitution class series of refits, as well as being the grand experiment to try and find a way to extend and expand space travel via warp technology, that being with the transwarp experiment. However, when the transwarp experiment ultimately failed and was deemed to be too risky and too costly on its not only in terms of its energy requirements, but also in terms of the time dilation and the increased aging rate of the people who were manning the ship during said experiment. This ship was ultimately relegated away from its grand experiment status, but was still used in great amounts as a frontline exploratory cruiser and later as a workhorse battleship during the Dominion War. As for the experiment, as for the specifications of the Excelsior class, ladies and gentlemen, um, I was wrong in last week's episode. This thing is considerably smaller than even the Ambassador class. Like, holy crap, holy crow! Like, it is small compared to the Galaxy class. Like, I did not realize just how small it was. But getting onto the specific stuff, it is an exploratory cruiser. That is its type. It is produced on the ASDB integration facility on Utopia Planitia Fleet Yards on Mars. Its dimensions are: it is 511 meters, roughly 511 meters long by 196 meters wide, and only just clocking in at right around 86 meters tall. It's very small. Now mind you, a meter is like 3 point something odd feet. So it's basically the metric version of the yard. So it's not tiny, but it's not big either. It's got a mass of 2,350,000 metric tons, which, for those of you who are bad at math and keeping in line with what we did before, that is roughly uh, 4.7 billion 4.7 billion pounds, which is tiny compared to the Galaxy class. It can accommodate 750 crew and officers, 130 visiting personnel, and it unfortunately only has a maximum personal evacuation limit of 9,800. So it's not the greatest when it comes to that kind of thing. It's powered by one 1,500 plus Cochrane warp core feeding two nacelles and one impulse system. It can hold indefinitely a warp field of 9.4. And as for its armament, it mounts 11 Type 8 twin. One second, folks. Sorry about that. It can mount 11 Type 8 twin phaser emplacements. So these are not phaser banks or phaser strips; these are phaser emplacements. And it also mounts 5 Type 8 single phaser emplacements, and also has four. It just says torpedo launchers in quotes, in air quotes. So I'm assuming that it's not just photon torpedoes. It can also, in its later form, it can actually fire quantum torpedoes. It can fire other photonic torpedoes of the earlier generation. It can fire multiple different types, which is interesting. Um, so yeah. As for my personal feelings on the Excelsior class, ladies and gentlemen, honestly, I've been meaning for a while, and I think this might give me a good excuse to do so, to watch the old Star Trek movies. I've not seen many of them, and I've definitely not seen any of them in a very long time. But I didn't realize just how recent in my day that they were made. Like the last one came out when I was like 3 years old, which, considering that I'm only just about to turn 36, that's actually pretty darn recent. That was like in 19, I think it's like 1989 or 1990 or something like that. I think that Star Trek 6 came out in 1990, and then Star Trek Generations came out like 2 years later in like 1992, which is interesting. Um, but yeah, uh, I I like the Excelsior class for what it stands for. The fact that it was created to try and expand the reach of the Federation via transwarp is kind of a cool concept. I also find it quite interesting that it, rather than it being having those phaser embankments, and strips basically to just be able to track targets more, it's built more like a porcupine, so it's got like individual little turrets. It's got basically up to 16 little turrets, 11 of them being twin turrets, and 5 of them being single turrets, and then it's got 4 torpedo launchers. So it's kind of keeping in line with an earlier design philosophy than the modern 24th century, and later even into the early 25th century way of doing things. So that's quite interesting. So yeah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to about do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like the video and stay tuned for the outro, where you can learn how to best support my work. If also stay tuned for next week when we cover the Sovereign class, that being the class of the Enterprise E, and then eventually we will be doing. I am going to find the Constitution and the NX-01. I have decided that I'm going to do that. I'm currently today taking time to find the information that I need, make the base recordings, and then I'll be focusing on, probably over the next couple of days while I have some time off, to um, get the videos all spliced together and rendered and edited and everything like that, and get them ready and uploaded so that you guys don't ever miss a beat. Anyway, guys, I'm Michael Shockman. I've been your host and commentator. Stay tuned for next week when we cover the Sovereign class, and until next time, bye-bye for now. Thank you so much for joining me on this adventure, folks. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, be sure to ring the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Lastly, if you liked my work and you want to help support my channels, you can now do so on Patreon, where for as little as $4 a month, you get access to a load of cool content and much more. Thanks so much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Shockman, and until next time, remember, keep it real, keep it safe, keep it healthy, and we will see you guys again soon in the next one. Peace off, everybody.